really the key is repurposing. So even talking with you and anyone else that you're working with to do more with your book, it's about repurposing. And that's what we're doing here. The difference with the online course is that you can make the transformation that you talk about in your book that much more tangible. So in that process, we are taking you through the journey of making sure that there's a clear plan of the learning that's going to take place, who it's for. We do that in our design phases. Then from there, we want to produce those.
How to turn your book into a course and the benefits of having a course and moving your message and business forward. My guest, the guru of production, is Marcel Tashi. Welcome. So cool to have you here.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So let's get into it because I'm loving the pieces that we're laying out for authors, right? So they step in, they grab that gold seal bestseller, they come to see me, we put them out on YouTube and get their message going. The next piece is you turning that book into a course. How do they do it? And what does it look like?
Yeah, this is such a good question. They do it. Really, the key is repurposing. So even talking with you and anyone else that you're working with to do more with your book, it's about repurposing. And that's what we're doing here. The difference with the online course is that you can make the transformation that you talk about in your book that much more tangible. So in that process, we are taking you through the journey of making sure that there's a clear plan of the learning that's going to take place, who it's for. We do that in our design phases. Then from there, we want to produce those. We start out with some testing and then actually go forward and produce the content. And then the third step is to get it available online for the internet for purchase. Like that, those are the major milestones that go along in that process.
Well, I think I could step up on that last piece. Well, let's get back to they're holding their book and they're like, you know what? I'm not sure what I would sell. I'm not sure who my else. I'm just not sure of what that course would look like. Have to lean in and guide them.
Yeah, we want to look at really from your book to ask some questions. And some of these questions are going to be answered, of course, by your readers. But some of those questions are going to be, where in my book do people get stuck? What's the most difficult aspect that I've taught here that might be a little bit more challenging to implement? And what's the one area that seems to be everyone's favorite in the book so far? Where do people want to dive in more deeply? So these are some of the questions that you can ask to really position an offer that's going to be aligned to what your audience is wanting. What is it that they are struggling with and having problems with? We just want to make that bridge between your book and the content there and a specific path between where they are to some result that they want to get to. And the course is that bridge.
And actually, the author is that bridge.
Yes.
Via the course.
Yes.
Okay.
It's an extension, right? The book is it's in text, it's in words for people to read. They can also maybe have an audio book, so now they're hearing you. And so now when we, introduce another element of the visual, right now we're taking on really where a lot of us learn best, which is through our visual sensory.
So what about I have a book, and when it comes to the course, maybe what I'm offering and what I'm teaching is not original, and that maybe people are not going to find what I'm telling them supportive and useful. What do you say to them?
Well, we definitely want to make sure that the information that you're putting together is going to be useful. So even before the process of starting to build a course, we want to make sure that there is a demand for what you have. And in most cases with that book in place, some of that research has been done, from the idea that you wanted to share and connecting it to an audience that would want it. And so we want to just have that same thinking when it comes here. We don't want to put out something for the sake of doing it, but to really make sure that there's going to be a transformation that people want to pay for. Because here's the thing, people will pay for implementation. It's one thing to know how to do something, but if you can support the implementation of that result happening or increasing the likelihood that result's going to happen, people will pay for that. And you're actually able in that case to shortening the time that it would take for them to do on their own, even with your book.
And then there you go again. It goes back to time and money, and depending on what you'll pay for one or the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So where the piece I was going with that is, so people standing in that maybe what I'm saying is not original.
Oh, yeah.
And so that whole thing of being authentic, but being worthy and valuable to put it out there. How do you reach them to step out of that resistance?
Yeah, that's a really good point. What I'll say is nothing new is under the sun. That's what my mom always said. So we might think there's something that we have is original or not, but there's still, it already existed before you began to share about it. The difference is in how you do it. Is your voice, your experience, your stories, all of those things that come together to make your presentation of this information even more, can resonate with people, especially if you know who you're talking to. And another thing too is that, oftentimes it is great to reference the information that you might have gotten this in the case of saying it's not original content. You can still make it a point to give credit where credit is due. And that's totally fine. Right. And again, as long as you're presenting it in your way, in your experience, in your story, that's what's really going to be more powerful in how something can be presented, is to hear this principle that maybe have already existed and to hear it through your story and your context, your circumstances, as an author, and for other people to join in that. That's going to resonate a lot more deeply.
So there's room.
Yeah.
Because it's who is gravitating to their message and to them. And so they therefore bring it forward and get out of their own way.
Exactly. Still share it, still put it out there, but just do it in your way, and do it in a way that's going to be respectful of the source of information that that you got it.
I love that. I love the, again, there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. The process. When it comes to putting a course out there, and what does that look like? How long does that take? And then I want to know your spin and why working with you versus something I'm going to chip away and attempt to do this on my own.
Got it. So the process, if you're going through this, and the steps, really, I teach 5 different steps you want to go through. The first step is to plan. And so typically, again, that's where we're getting all of the ideas down. We want to, have the question cleared of how do I get all of the information from my book condensed down into a course. So that's really where the planning is going to come into play. So we want to plan that out, get some structure there. And then second, go into actually now preparing. And so to prepare is going to incorporate things like getting with a founders group to test this information, right? See if there's some validation beforehand. You can do that in a small, scenario, group Zoom, and just really share those ideas and get feedback. So we want to test, and we also want to prepare other aspects of the course, meaning, what in detail is going to happen in each of the lessons, and what activities or actions do we want the readers to take or learners to take in each of those. So that's the preparation phase. Once that's cleared and stamped as approved, then the next step is to produce it. So the production side of things, now a lot of courses are multimedia. So, as simple as getting on Zoom to record your content, you can do. And what we do on the other side of when it comes to production is, if you want to just show up, right? That's what our process is set up to help you do. So if you're a busy author and you want to look good and you don't want it to look like you did it yourself, then that's when most authors are reaching out to us. Otherwise, you can still get to your destination where you need to go by just getting on Zoom and sharing the information. And then once the production has happened, then next we go to publishing it. So on the publishing side is where you're taking what you've created and uploading that to a learning management system. So that's going to be those softwares we know, are those platforms like Thinkific, Teachable, Kajabi, right? Any of those are going to be good fits to upload to. And then the last step is just to promote. And this is really the more ongoing part of what's necessary to keep the message going about your book, but then also always pointing back to, hey, well, there's a course over here if you want to go more deeply. So as an author, if you're already doing that work of, again, being in continual conversation about your topic, that's really half the battle, and being consistent with that. And that's where you and what you do, Maureen, really, really serves so heavily on that particular step. So those are the five, steps that we typically go through. Again, planning, preparing, producing, publishing, and then promoting. And the difference with us is that, you have, with what we just described, you can do that totally on your own. You can do it within 30 days. You can do it within a year, within a few months. I like to go with a few months round so you can have that time to test and produce things accordingly, but you could also get it done much sooner. Then you have the option to either work with someone or to work with someone or to have it all done for you. And so we fall in those two categories where if you want someone to do the condensing of the information and to plan everything out with you, to give you direction on how to produce and to send those assets to us and what have you, we work together to get to the end result. Or if you like the option of have everything done for you, we have some really amazing ways that we do that with our authors, where again, a lot of that is you just showing up. You show up, give approvals in the process, and everything else goes forward. And now you'll have a link that is connected to your book to a course.
So first of all, like we were talking about before we got on camera, that your production capabilities outstanding. I mean, really in like full video, full length team, full lights, cameras, action, everything. That's fun. And it shows that it's that caliber. But let's get a little bit into you, because I'd already be saying yes, because I'm like, she's got me, and I'm loving that. But tell people a little bit about your background and how, yeah, you're right, I too got you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, my background goes to really my start of a career in teaching. So I was a high school math teacher back in Virginia, and I did that for did that for about 7 years. And in that time, it was the last 2 years while I was teaching that I took up videography on the side to make extra money as a teacher, and had no clue that you could even make money being creative that way. But once I heard about it, I said, okay, I'm going to dive into this. This is fun. And so eventually I was able to leave my job as a teacher and go full time just as a solo videographer. And then I started to learn more about the production side of business, really, and grew a company that was in multiple locations. And we were doing shoots all over the country for different brands and organizations and events. And so I have an education background, right? I have this master's in curriculum and instruction that I got from school. So I have that. I have this production experience. And during the pandemic is when I really, I guess, set out on a journey to understand, like, what is my highest contribution to other people? And when I look back at these experiences that I had, including what I'm passionate about, which is learning and personal growth, it's like, this is going to, maybe this is something I could lean into. And I decided to do that after an author reached out. Like, this is what happened. The author reached out who wanted to produce the content of her course. And so, I said, well, let's go for it. Let's do it. And let's do it a certain way. And by a certain way, I mean with quality, and really take into attention, like, what is being learned, what's being trained, just to dive into the information itself. And the end result of that was just so phenomenal for us to be there, to be a part of producing something that was actually helpful, actually transformative in the way that it was structured, and for the author. I mean, she had a really successful launch for that program, and it was just exciting to see those things come together. And so that's when we decided to, really dive into this as a specific niche, not to do production for all things to all people like I've been doing before, but to really focus in on a group that I admire and really have a lot of respect for and see a lot of myself in. So it's just been a really beautiful experience.
I love that. And there's the heart of an entrepreneur in there. And that heart beats just a little bit different than the ordinary. So to receive that. Right. So let's talk a little bit about, so again, you have a bestseller, and then there are always the what's next, or how do I live abundance in my life by still serving? And so with the course, what kind of numbers, successful course and being able to position that, marketing and positioning that what would that look like? And how does that fill that gap from I'm serving an outward focus to now I'm also thriving as an entrepreneur?
Gotcha. Really, the key is being in touch with your audience. And the more you learn about them and the more that you're spending time with them, the more they're going to tell you what they're looking for and what their problems are. And you just being committed to showing up to help solve those problems and all the different facets that you just described, right? Social media, you can do that on a certain level, right? What free information can you share there? And then taking a step up to bring people through that journey. That's really how I see it, is really more so of a journey that you're taking people on. And you want to be effective at each of those stages. So, it's the know, like, and trust factor, right? Someone gets to know you on social media for free, and then they begin to like you maybe through a masterclass or through a mini course or through something that you position there. And then they're loving you, right? They're trusting you and willing to pay to have your support, in another format. So I really think about it in the way of a journey and wanting to make sure there is something happening for that audience at that stage where they are and they're getting what they need. And then once they complete that, right, opening the invitation for the next experience or the next opportunity that might be available for them according to what you know about them and what they said they are struggling with at different phases.
And I love that. And there's also a next for the author. Let's get into the evergreen and the freedom that, of course, offers entrepreneurs and best-selling authors.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, when you play with the numbers, first of all, if you look at just say book sales alone, let's say that you sell 200 copies in a year, which I think the average might sell 100, but let's say that you're selling 200 copies a year, $20, then that's like 4,000 that you're going to get from the book sales alone. Amazon's going to get their cut and whatever else you got tied up in how you're distributing your books. And then if we then compare that to you having, let's say even a $99 course, a mini course, let's call it, that goes along with your book, as a companion to that, or as the next step in that journey, if we even take 5% of your readers or 10% of your readers that opt into this, not all of your readers, just 10% of them, you would see a significant increase in the revenue potential of your book and your content. And from there, as you continue, because most authors, if you're a best-selling author, like, I don't know of any author who's put the book out there and then they just sit and it's just doing all the work for them. You still are going to be very much active in that, whether it's social media content, doing live teachings, providing other experiences for your readers. That is, if you're continuing to do that main activity, and that's a consistency in your world, then, and you're connecting and what your audience is wanting, what they're looking for, then there's always going to be something of value and a mechanism out there to reach people with that value on a regular basis. And so for me, that's what I see as like the main piece that has to be in place, is that this consistent mindset, just to be, the way I describe it in my head is just to be in conversation about your book, be in conversation about your topic, podcasts, right? You can be on other people's podcasts even, maybe that's how you fill that up. But you as an author, or taking the stage, right? Get on stage and talk about, or have these opportunities where you can provide value to an audience. And that's a really great way, even so much more, to point people to your book, because you've given them a taste of, you from the stage, and they likely will want more of that. So it's, to me, the key is really just always being in front of your audience and always being consistent with just sharing your message and being consistent with it.
I want to put a twist on this, and this is mindset, that you have authors who they've put the solutions in the book, right? That's coming from a place of generosity, mm-hmm. and that they're what's already in there, that them paying for a course, right? That what on the other side of them getting out of the author, getting in their own way and saying, well, it's already out there, that the piece that they get to provide this for someone saying, I want more, I want help, I want to work with you, reaching that, leading to an author that may be hesitant to say, this effort, it's already in the book.
Oh, I see. You're right. And the image that came to mind is that in the book, you might be explaining the process and the principles behind how to ride a bike. But then just because you've read about it and you know it conceptually doesn't mean that you have really taken that on and that it's part of your work. Because the ultimate goal of learning is for a particular behavior on the learner side. You want to make that behavior automatic. They know what to do. They don't, it becomes a part of them. That's the ultimate goal. And so you may have put the how in the book, but it's still not going to give someone the confidence and the autonomy within themselves to operate within that. The only way we really learn that is through getting into action. So we really design our courses and advise other people to really create your course in a way that is going to inspire action and not more head knowledge, right? Because we can get that on Google. We can get that elsewhere. How can you provide an experience? And consider too that there's typically communities involved with these as well. It's a multitude of readers that are going through this. So how can you bring them all together? And what's really great about the platforms that I described before is that they incorporate those features in the technology. So anyone who's coming in can chime in with a group or a community and now also have that sort of camaraderie and support around being in action, right? And having fun with it or being able to share what has happened as a result of them taking action on this, because that's how we truly learn.
So again, it's you're moving them along their leadership from moving from a principle or thought to committed action. Mm-hmm. Brilliant. All right. One other thing, because just you being here, you get to receive this. Just you being here shows, and you can feel your power. You can feel you got this. And then anyone that works with you, you got this. But tell people what it's like to work with you versus anyone else out there. What's the benefits of working with you?
Yeah, the benefits of working with me is definitely that we've got your back. We really have provided this service and what we're doing for authors with the actual name, Book to Course Concierge. So imagine how you feel when you have a concierge. There's no better feeling than knowing that you can just show up and teach, right? And a lot of the stress and worry around technology, the stress and worry about how do I look, is the website set up, and, all those components that go into it. We're really here to do a lot of that heavy lifting for you and to do it in a way that incorporates your ideas as well. So this is something that we co-create from the very start as well. So what I love about our team is that, we all are intentional about really seeing who you are and the gifts that you have and really wanting to genuinely see that shine forth, right? And that happens best when you can be more effortless about that. When there's less that you have to worry about and do, more of your energy can get concentrated and focused on showing up to teach. And so that's what we appreciate that. And we also are going to appreciate learning from you, right? We're all learners at heart too.
So what you're saying is that they get to stay in their creative genius. The reason while they're here, you get to do everything else from them. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Absolutely.
Do you have a gift for us, and how can people get in touch with you and work with you?
Yeah, I do have a gift. We have an ebook that is releasing, our very first solid ebook that we've put out. And there was a lot of work that went into it, but the name of it is called 5 Ways to Get More Bang for Your Book. And so we outline those various 5 specific ways you can do it. But what I love about this and what the feedback has been is that the case studies in there's exercises, there's questions that are going to prompt you really to get you moving forward, even in the planning stages of what it looks like to do more with your book. Because we're talking about an online course here, but there really are several ways. And so I wanted to make sure that authors had a way of seeing the full, possibilities that are there for them when it comes to how they can leverage their book. So that is at theauthorsleverage.com/ebook. And you can find us at theauthorsleverage.com as well as on all social media platforms as we see what we're up to.
Okay, no, I love it. Great. Well, we will drop the links below. Grab that. Go grab your gift and start moving your message forward to working with you, with your mission, and thriving and getting out of your own way because you get to work with this amazing being. Have a good one, everyone.